and welcome to my Game Week 3 review. Before I get into the video, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I checked my analytics and 80% of my viewers haven't subscribed, so please hit that subscribe button and join the fantasy journey. This week I actually got off relatively unscathed, which I'm really relieved about. I scored above average points and it was largely due to Perišić, which I did not see myself saying at the end of Game Week 2. Thankfully I held on to Perišić and he saved my team, so Perišić, if you happen to be watching, thank you, I owe you one. I know that the game week was really tough for a lot of people, and some of the results I was incredibly shocked by. As a Chelsea fan, I watched the game through my hands. It was absolutely horrible to watch, but we will have a look at my team and then I will discuss some ideas that I'm thinking going ahead into game week 4 regarding transfers and who to keep and all that kind of stuff. But yes, let's have a little look at my team. This is how I did. So I secured 58 points and the average was 48, so we're staying above average, which is very positive stuff. I will begin by looking at my transfers. So you may remember, if you saw my last video, that I transferred out Robertson for James. I mean, that made no difference, did it? Robertson only got 1 point this game week. He did concede a goal. And Reece James also only got 1 point this game week, which is not ideal at all. A very frustrating result for Chelsea. They conceded 3 goals and I did not see this coming whatsoever. I thought I was going to bring in Reece James, and similar to previous weeks, he scored 7 points every week. Then the week that I bring him in, he managed to get 1, which is not a very good start to joining my team, but it's fine. I am going to persevere with Reece James because obviously he is a great defender. He just had, well, the whole team had an off week this week. As I said, as a Chelsea fan, watching that game was horrible, a form of torture, I would say. I did say at the start, so my main reservation about bringing in a Chelsea player was the Spurs fixture in game week 2, but I did also say I am slightly concerned about Chelsea's defence. That is still a concern, so I will hold out with Reece James for the next couple of weeks. We've got some good fixtures coming up. Leicester this week isn't going to be a really easy one, but fingers crossed after last week's performance we're going to sort something out within the team because it cannot go on that way. And then we've got Southampton, West Ham, Fulham. So I think I'll probably give it until game week 8, and then when we have Liverpool, even though Liverpool weren't on their best behaviour last night, I do think that's where I may potentially bring out Reece James for someone else. There are quite a few defenders catching my eye, so we'll keep an eye on that one. I'm not feeling too hard done by because, as I said, I took out Robertson and he only got 1 point as well. My biggest concern was that I just hadn't been patient with Robertson and I got rid of him too quickly. And where Perišić, we will get to him in a minute, but where Perišić suddenly got 12 points out of seemingly nowhere, I thought Robertson might do the same thing and I would be absolutely kicking myself, but luckily that didn't happen. So we will give Reece James a couple more weeks. I'm not going to do a knee-jerk reaction just because he's had 1 bad week, but if that seems to be a pattern going on in the future, then obviously I will have to rethink. My other transfer was Gross, who I was very impressed with. I have said before I wanted to get in some Brighton players. I'm also really keen to get in some Brentford players because the fixtures coming up are ridiculous. Gross has been really consistent as well in the last couple of game weeks. The first game week, 15 points. I wish he'd have been on my team then. I am pleased with how he's performed and he'll be staying in my team for the foreseeable future. I just think he's a great asset to have. And that would be my advice. Bring in Gross or any Brighton players that you feel enthusiastic about, because good feeling about Brighton this season. In order to get Gross, I did transfer out Bailey, and then this is typical, isn't it? Bailey secured 5 points. He managed to get an assist, and it's very frustrating because that is the best that he's performed so far this season. But Gross got me 6 points, so I am still better off. But it's, yeah, this always happens in Fantasy Premier League, doesn't it? It's so annoying. Now, into less jolly topics. Ederson, the goals conceded. This was such a frustrating game to watch with City against Newcastle. I did not see City losing. It was just madness. Conceded 3 goals and only got me 1 point. I'm not panicking too much because, again, the fixtures coming up are good, so I will keep hold of Ederson. But if he continues to have bad weeks, then we will have to have a little think about the goalkeeper. I may hold off until I use my wild card before I do any changes to the goalkeepers. Cancelo! Again, Man City, what was happening? No points. Who saw that coming? Not me. Absolutely nothing. After having such good opening game weeks, I mean, the first week he got 7 points, second week he got 11 points, and then we're down to 0. Who would have seen that? So I won't be too annoyed. I do think they just had a really off week against Newcastle. But I will be keeping hold of Cancelo. He's a very good asset to have. 7.1 million. He will I say optimistically, he will secure me those points in the future. So I'm keeping hold of him because so far he's done me well. He's done me proud. So he will be staying in my team. Reece James, as I said, giving him some time. Alexander-Arnold. Oh, Trent. I don't know how I feel about him. I know that Liverpool have got some good fixtures coming up as well. However, I got rid of Robertson, and I know that James only secured 1 point and Robertson only secured 1 point, so it's not a huge difference. But with Trent, 7.5 million, that could get me someone else that may have a little bit more consistency and could potentially be cheaper, and then I have more money to spend elsewhere. I'm on the market for a defender, and Trent may potentially have to go. I don't know. I'm going to see how he performs against Bournemouth. If there isn't a huge improvement, I mean, 1 point, then 3 points, then 0 points, it's not really life-changing stuff for your fantasy team, is it? So Trent is on the potential list for the chop. Dyer and Perišić, my Spurs defenders, keeping them paid off. I am so pleased. Dyer, I was really impressed with. They kept a clean sheet, which was good. A solid fixture against Wolves. Dyer will be staying, especially in the next game week. They are playing Nottingham Forest, and it's always good when you've got a newly promoted team to keep hold of some of your best players. So I am expecting good things from Dyer. And then again with Perišić, who'd have seen it coming that Perišić would have been my top scorer, and the fact that my defence would look like this. Never in a million years would I have believed you if you'd have said Cancelo, James and Trent are going to get 1 point between them, whereas Dyer and Perišić between them are getting 18 points. Really happy with Perišić. I've seen a lot of people that transferred him out are now regretting their choices, which is why in Fantasy Premier League, patience is key, especially this early on. No need for knee-jerk reactions, just let people get into their stride, and that is my optimistic speech for you. Last game week, Perišić was on my bench. I was very concerned about whether he was going to start, and the amount of rumours on Twitter, it's enough to give you a headache, isn't it? There was so much going on Twitter saying that he wasn't starting, he was starting. My friend has a contact at Spurs and they've confirmed that he's definitely not starting. And I did see a tweet that seemed very final before the game saying he's not starting. And I was like, oh, there's my game week in the mud. But paid off. He started, he did really well. Delighted with Perišić. As I said at the start, he has saved my game week. So yes, Team Perišić. Salah, good. We got a goal, which is good. We got bonus points. 8 points though for Salah. I did say in my last video that Salah was underperforming in my eyes, and someone called me out and said game week 1 he got an assist and he scored. But it's Salah. I'm expecting, if this week I had captained Perišić would have secured me 24 points. Salah, I don't, does anyone else have this where you just expect to be up there, maybe securing 16 points, then when you captain him you're getting 32? It's not to say that Salah is doing particularly badly. Obviously, he's scoring those goals, which is good. But as an asset on my fantasy team, I don't know. Do I just have too high expectations for Salah? Or am I putting too much pressure on him? I'm really frustrated. I want him to be knocking goals out the park, getting the assists, just absolutely hammering it. Whereas last night, he did do well, and I'm glad. I got 16 points. As I said, I got the goal, he got the bonus point. But there's just something missing that I'm really looking for, and it's not a criticism on Salah. As I said, he is performing well, but from a fantasy perspective, I want him to be way up there, 16 points a week, 18 points a week, so that when I make him my captain, I am flying. So, as I said, not a criticism specifically to Salah, I just have higher expectations for him. So he will be staying on my team, he's not going anywhere. I am still Team Salah, but I just want that bit of pizzazz. Some pizzazz from Salah, please. Martinelli, I am 100% keeping hold of for Arsenal. Arsenal are looking great this season. I'm getting consistency from Martinelli. 8 points, 8.6 points. Good. We need those solid points coming in because you have weeks like I've had this week where Cancelo has secured 0 points. So thank you, Martinelli, for some consistency. I am looking forward to this week's game against Fulham. Again, newly promoted side versus Arsenal. Fingers crossed it will go the way that I'm expecting. Although, judging by this game week, you can't predict anything in football at the moment. But Martinelli will stay. Gross, as I said, please, I brought him in. The one concern I do have is one of the reasons that I brought Gross in was that it was expected that he was going to take the penalties, and he didn't. So mild concern there, because obviously you just want him to be able to secure points from left, right and centre, and it wasn't the case on Saturday. So one to keep an eye on, but as I said, Brentford and Brighton, I want those players in there because they've got great fixtures coming up. So Gross will be staying put, and I think we haven't seen the best of him yet. That's an exciting way to build up the tension around having him. Ooh, how's he going to do next week? Fingers crossed, secures even more points. Jesus, I am pleased that I did not make him my captain. So aside from Perišić, which I would never have thought to make Perišić my captain, Salah was the best option for me to go for. Jesus, bit of an off week for him, wasn't it? Arsenal obviously kept their clean sheet, which is positive. Again, he will be hanging around. He had his 19 points secured last week, so give the man a rest. Maybe he can't keep doing that. But fingers crossed, next week is another big score. And as I said, they're against Fulham, so newly promoted. Get in there, Jesus. Show them who's boss. And then Haaland, again, slightly disappointing with only 6 points. But the whole Man City game was just wild, wasn't it? It wasn't really like watching Man City play. I am concerned about the comments regarding rotation. He's at a rotation risk. Potentially could swap him with Harry Kane. That is on the radar. And then it goes back to the old days. My fantasy teams, I always have a rotation between Salah and Kane. So it'll be nostalgic for me. Fixtures coming up, Crystal Palace and then Forest. I would like to have him for the Forest game, but then Spurs are playing Forest this week. So do I just go straight in with a Kane transfer? I don't know. We will keep an eye on it. There is a lot to consider in the upcoming game week. And then if we have a quick look at my bench, Andreas, where was that when you were... Actually, I think you might be in my bench for quite a few weeks. No, I had him playing last week. Okay. Andreas, where was that when you were playing last week? 8 points. Brilliant. A lot of people have had this. Bailey and Andreas have kind of done a little middle finger up to us, I think, because we didn't really have too much faith in them. He got an assist, and I think I will be holding on to him. Pereira is just a good one to have on the team, isn't he? He will probably stay on my bench this week because they are against Arsenal, but I think I'll bring him in from game week 5, and then game week 6 and 7 a bit more challenging. So potentially either staying on the bench or transferred out, but I am short. I've only got one free transfer this week, so I'm not planning to really do anything too exciting. I may have to hold off until I've got 2 transfers, or I will just hold on to him until I use my wild card, but I'm not sure. As I said, the Tottenham and Chelsea fixtures are a bit of a red flag for me, so I'm not quite sure about Pereira's future in my team, but we will see. And then Neto, fine, 2 points. I mean, that's just kind of remaining consistent, isn't it, with his performance so far? 2 points, 3 points, 2 points. He's just a handy one, isn't he, to have on the bench, maybe bring in occasionally. And then someone that's bringing no value to my team whatsoever is Archer. I did say in my first ever video that sometimes you just have to have players on your team that you don't feel that passionately about, and they're just there to fill a void. And I think that's what Archer is. Fast forward into a couple of game weeks and he may do extremely well, but I can confirm he will be either not in my team or on my bench for that week. So there's not tons to say about Archer, but he is there. He is present but not involved. So that's how my team did in game week 3. I am relieved, to be honest. I've seen a lot of other teams that did a lot worse, and as long as I stay above average, I am happy, because this early on in the season, everything can change. There are so many weeks to go. So as long as I'm kind of keeping a steady above average, hopefully I'll slowly fly through the ranks. All of my arrows in my mini leagues are green, apart from one where I've just stayed second. So personal aim is to get to the top of that mini league. And talking of leagues, I actually have my own league. It's Yellow League, which I will leave the code for below. And on that note, I will also leave my social media below. I am on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. There are so many things, so many ways to keep up with my views on fantasy football. Do subscribe, follow, everything. It is all appreciated. In summary, I am very pleased with my transfers. Although Reece James didn't necessarily pay off massively, it made no difference because Robertson only got 1.2, and I wanted to have Reece James on my team for quite a while. So he is in there, that transfer is done, we are fine. To help me make my decisions, I actually used Fantasy Football Hub, and they're my team feature. It's so useful. You can compare all the players, you can bring them in, see the expected points, that kind of stuff. So I'll be using that again in a video later this week to decide what transfers I'm going to make, because I am pretty sure I will make a transfer this week. But who? I don't know. So stay tuned and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And if you also want to use Fantasy Football Hub, there is a link below in my description where you can sign up, and there are so many tools to use. It will really improve your team. And I think that's why so far I've been above average every single week, because Fantasy Football Hub is helping me. As I said, I will be uploading another video this week talking about my transfer ideas. I've got quite a few people on my watch list, so depending on time, you may get an extra bonus video, which is thrilling for you all, where I just discuss who I would like to bring in the upcoming weeks. And when you have game weeks like this week, it does make you rethink everything. But don't act rash, don't be hasty, no knee-jerk reactions. I saw a lot of people after Sunday night, when they still had the Liverpool game to go, activating their wildcards. And if that is what you want to do you, fine. But I would say maybe hold off sometimes, because you made your team decisions for a reason. Apart from one of my friends in my mini league made the worst team decisions in the first week. But everyone apart from my friend, I would recommend no knee-jerk reactions, because you don't know how the games are going to play out, and so much of fantasy football is down to luck. As frustrating as that is, it's the truth. Who would have seen the outcome for my defenders this week? Ridiculous that Perišić just got me 12 points. I don't think I'll get over this for a while. But anyway, coming to the end of this video, please do subscribe, and you can stay up to date with my team, and I will see you in the next video.